Hi everybody, this is for Music 207, Theory 4. I'm going to be talking about one topic in particular from Chapter 26. Now, Chapter 26 is a long chapter, but it could also be viewed as a chapter that is full of new definitions. So there are a lot of terms revealing or referring to rather new rhythmic and metric procedures. There are a lot of terms referring to new types of chords. And there are a lot of terms referring to new types of scales. And those are all interesting ideas. If you're a composer, and many of you are, I would urge you to look at some of that stuff. But there really is not a whole lot of analysis that goes with that. So I'm just going to say that's yours for future reference. Typically, the kind of question that you would be asked about that material in a placement test would be, identificational kinds of a question. Like, how do you spell a chordal chord, or how do you spell what is a split third chord, and so on and so forth. Just being able to recognize a definition. So we won't really spend a whole lot of time with that. I will just make you aware that that material is there. The thing that we will spend most of our time on are the 6 church modes. What I'm going to do primarily now is give you a different way to get to a modal key signature very quickly. I know a lot of you, especially guitar players, are already familiar with modes, and you may have your own, fast way of figuring out a modal key signature already in your head because you've done it many times. You do not need to do it this way instead. However, what this is very good at, what I'm about to talk about, is you'll be able to get to the key signature of a mode really quickly. And if you've never done that before, I think probably this is the most direct way to do it. So here's what I suggest. First of all, we're going to be talking about 6 modes, and I've got them on the board. Ionian, then Lydian, then Mixolydian, then Aeolian, Dorian, and Phrygian. All the modes on this side, on the left, are major modes, and I'll say what that means in a second. All the modes on this side are minor modes, and I'll say what that means starting right now. These modes do not have the same key signature. They are actually different scales, however. What all the major modes have in common is if you build a triad on scale degree 1, it will always be major. So regardless of what the other chords are in the modal scale, scale degree 1 will always net a major chord in a major mode. Same thing in minor modes. Regardless of how the other chords in the scale have been changed because the modal key signature changes, if you build a triad on scale degree 1 in a minor mode, it will always be a minor triad. So that's why those 3 are minor modes, those 3 are major modes. Second thing, modal key signatures are diatonic key signatures. That means they're either all sharps or they're all flats. And they are exactly the same key signatures that you already know. So there are no new key signatures to learn. They're just adjustments to key signatures that you already know. So here's how the adjustment works. The way this system goes is we're going to do one of 3 things, and all 3 things are very simple. Either A, we're not going to change the key signature at all. We're going to just leave it alone, keep it the same way. Or B, we're going to add 1 sharp to the key signature as it exists. Or C, we're going to add 1 flat. So either do nothing, or add 1 sharp, or add 1 flat. Those are the only possible options. Okay? So, for example, if I start off with C and I want to play C Ionian, Ionian is the same thing as a major scale. So you already know all the Ionian modes. Ionian mode is just a major scale and you don't do anything to the key signature. Suppose we want to change our Ionian major scale into a Lydian major scale. Well, what we do is we add 1 sharp to the pre-existing major key signature. So if we're starting with C major has no sharps and no flats. If we add 1 sharp to the no sharps, no flats that we start with, we wind up with a net total of 1 sharp. The sharps that you add or take away, the order of sharps and flats is exactly the same order that you've already known. So the first sharp is F sharp, and it's F, C, G, D, A, E, B, and so forth. The first flat is B flat, and it's B, E, A, D, G, C, F. Just the same order of sharps and flats. Mixolydian adds 1 flat to the pre-existing major key signature. So if we have C major with no sharps and no flats, and we prefer to have it be C Mixolydian, then we add 1 flat to the key signature, and it becomes Mixolydian. And the flat is B flat. It's the same order of sharps and flats. By the way, One of the reasons that jazz improvisation books often make people acquainted with the Mixolydian mode pretty quickly is because it's a perfect fit with major minor seventh chord, dominant seventh chord, and that's an important sonority in a lot of jazz. Now on the minor side, Aeolian is exactly the same thing as natural minor. So that means it's the minor scale, but to a fault. There is no leading tone. It's not harmonic minor. We do not raise scale degree 7. It is just the key signature and nothing but the key signature. So A Aeolian, for example, would be A to A with no sharps and no flats at all, including no G sharp. Dorian adds one sharp to whatever the pre-existing minor key signature is. Phrygian adds one flat to whatever the pre-existing minor key signature is. So the biggest mistake, or one of the easiest mistakes that people make in figuring the minor modes is they forget to start with the minor key signature. So let's do an example. C Aeolian has the same key signature as C minor. C minor has a key signature of 3 flats, so does C Aeolian. And no leading tone. There's no B natural in C Aeolian, it's always B flat. If I would prefer to play a C Dorian scale, it's still going to be minor, but what I do now is I add a sharp to the pre-existing minor key signature. So C minor has a key signature of 3 flats. If I add a sharp to 3 flats, what that means is I lose one of my flats. So adding a sharp to 3 flats knocks it down to 2 flats. The key signature of C Dorian is 2 flats. Phrygian adds 1 flat more to the pre-existing minor key signature. So once again, if I want C Phrygian, I've got to start with C minor. C minor has 3 flats. If I add 1 more flat to the 3 that I already have, I get a total of 4 flats. And it's the same 4 flats you've always known. It's B, E, A, and D. So in a nutshell, that's how you can quickly figure out what's going on in a modal key signature. And I find that more useful to people who either write music or people who improvise on music, because you can just sort of envision a field of notes. I mean, like, you know, you can just keep a number of flats or a number of sharps in your head, and that's the field that you have to play in. Everything besides the sharps and the flats are white notes, obviously. Let's do one more example. So if we start off with D major, okay, D major has 2 sharps. So therefore D Ionian is the same as D major. D Ionian also has 2 sharps. D Lydian adds 1 more sharp to the pre-existing key signature. So D major has 2 sharps. If we add 1 more, we wind up with a total of 3 sharps. So instead of F sharp and C sharp, we have F, C, and G. Mixolydian adds 1 flat to the pre-existing major key signature. So if we're starting with D major, we have 2 sharps. If we add 1 flat to that, what that does is it makes us lose one of our sharps. So it knocks it back to 1 sharp. So the key signature of D Mixolydian, unlike D major, is only 1 sharp, just F sharp. There is no C sharp in D or Mixolydian. Let's take another run at some of the minor key modes. So let's do D minor. D minor has a key signature of 1 flat. So the key signature of D Aeolian is the same as D minor, literally D natural minor. So just 1 flat also, and there is no C sharp, there is no leading tone. The key signature of D Dorian, we're going to add a sharp to the key signature that we started with. So D minor has a key signature of 1 flat. If we add a sharp to 1 flat, we lose the flat. Essentially, it neutralizes it. So D Dorian has a key signature of no sharps and no flats. Finally, if we want to talk about D Phrygian, we're going to add 1 flat to the key signature that we already have. So D minor has a key signature of 1 flat, therefore D Phrygian has a key signature of 2 flats, and they're the same flats you've already known. So we're starting off with B flat, the second flat we're going to add is E flat. I'll also be sending you a note regarding chapter 26. But otherwise, that's all I have to say in this particular video, and I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.